Hey guys, it's Linda Winter with another Winter Designs project and a new template. Okay, masks, I think they're here forever. Depending on what your attitude is, you may or may not like the idea of wearing a mask, but sometimes, it's just one of those things that's required. Or maybe you have a cold or the flu and you don't want to spread your germs, or you're someplace where somebody does have the cold and flu and you don't want to get near them. So this is a different style face mask. This is a little bit different. This is for people that really feel claustrophobic, that can't breathe. So I'm going to put this on and I want you to see. Now I have two different templates. This is the one that I'm going to have on my website. I'm going to show you the second one. If you like the second one, then you can text me, email me, or call me and say, I want the second face mask. I call this the Bandana face mask, and if I turn it to the back, you can kind of see the bandana style, and I'm going to put this on. So whatever way you want to do your loops, I'll show you those, and I'll give you some of the options as well. But do you see how this dips underneath my eyes? But it also comes out from my mouth, so I'm not breathing in. Also, it's looser down here. That means a guy that has a big beard, he can wear this kind of mask too. Now, my other size is a little bit longer and it goes down into the neck. I'll show you that in a second. But how you make this thing fit better is really the key of what's behind my ear. Tightening this up will hold it a little bit tighter here, but not so much down here. So it's kind of a cool style. So this is the style that I like for my website, that I'll have on my website, and this is the style that I like. And remember, Martelli now has black or brown, that tan color on the back side. Both of these are black. The tan or the black is our no slip material. No slipping, no kidding. You'll see when I go to cut this. I'm going to grab, well, let's be a little outrageous, and I'm going to grab Day of the Dead. So Day of the Dead, and I'll turn it over to the orange so you can see. Do you see how this one is bigger? And when I put this on, again, you're going to adjust the earpieces. That makes the difference. But do you see how this is longer? It's fuller on the side. If you like the idea of this, you can change the nose piece. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, to sit a little bit further out as well. But do you see how this is a little bit longer? This is a style that I've seen online, and it's just a little bit too long for me. So this is the style that I have, and this is called the Bandana face mask. Okay, so this guy here with the earpieces. So the earpieces, elastic t-shirts, you can do whatever it is. I love all the different colors. These guys are so easy to put on, and I love to be able to mix and match. So I've got greens and purples and reds and blacks and whites and pinks and yellows and blues on my website. So if you want to buy those, I give you 2 sets of each color. So that'll be on my website as well. So you can buy the template for the face mask and the elastic bundles if you don't have them already. I do want to point out that this little piece here, this is the piece that you either scooch this way or you scooch this way. It makes it longer or shorter. Let me show you on this one. Can you see how this is a little bit different? These guys here, they will melt under an iron. So if you go to press and you're pressing your little earpiece, see this mess that's right there? That's what that black looks like when it melts. So don't let that get to your iron, because it's going to be a big mess. I always talk about certain fabrics you can iron over, certain plastics you can, kind of use a protective sheet. But this, because there's a bump there, it just hit the bottom of my iron. The bottom of my iron hit that piece. So just be careful when you're doing things like this. Again, you can take t-shirts and cut them up and just pull, and then you can use these and tie them. You can wear them all the way around your head. This video is not showing you that. This video is going to show you this template and how to cut. Okay, so I want to talk about sizing. So I made this size template, that's one. This is the other one, that's the bigger one. If we look over here, my kitty's mask, that's done with this one. This guy, I didn't do any elastics yet, but you can see, if you want to make this and then place the elastics based on who it is for, you can do that as well. That's from this one. My Day of the Dead was from this one, and then this one, for those of you that don't like anything screaming at you, you can wear something simple. And if you've got to go to church or someplace where, you need the solid black, they're reversible. So that's the cool thing about this style too. And they whip up super fast. Okay, so over here I've got the dogs. The dogs, that's done with this. The slow, the stop, dead end, yield, that's done with this. This is reversible. If any of you have the Martelli bundle that we've been selling lately, this is from that Martelli bundle, so it's great for the fall. These are great to whip up and make a whole bunch of these, put each one in a baggie, stick them in your car, and when you're out and about somewhere and you see a place that you want to go to, a restaurant, masks required, you've got a bunch in your car that you can now hand out or you can sell. You know, some people have made a business off of selling masks, so that's a nice option. Okay, so this is a template we're going to talk about. Again, if you're interested in the larger size, you'll just call me. So we would place our fabric on the fold. This says fold, so imagine I've done that. So this would give me the standard size, but I wanted to show you if you're going to do something for kids, and I'm not talking little kids, I'm talking about kids that can make the decision about what it is they want to do about a mask. This is the standard size. I'm going to place this on here, and I want you to see how with the same template, boy, that's hard to see. Let's grab another color. Let's see, and I think I'll turn this one over so you can see. So maybe you can see how this is. Let me get that out of there. Can you see how this one is just a little bit smaller? So I'm going to show you when I cut how we can make that adjustment too. Do you see how it's just a little bit narrower? It's a little bit shorter. So the point is still pretty much the same, but it's just shrunk down. So I'm going to show you how to cut that too. Okay, I also want to show you how to fussy cut. I've got these mermaids that I love. This is really pretty fabric, and I want to have the mermaids right here in the center of my mask. So what I'm going to do is right where I have these shells, right down the line, I'm going to fold in half. Now what I want to do is just give this a good fold and give this a good press. I'm just going to do finger pressing, and I'm looking here and I'm looking here, and I'm going to press, and I'm going to see if that looks pretty good. All right, and you can see here I'm not centered here, so we're going to move that a little bit. This doesn't have to be perfect. It is a face mask after all, but that gives me my fussy cut that I'll be able to, when I place this on, have this mermaid and this mermaid over here centered. Now let's look at where they're going to be on the mask. They're going to be further down because I don't have enough fabric. This is a scrap that I got, so that means these guys right here, they're going to be further down, not so much on my eyes, and that's okay. So I'm going to place this on my fold because this is place on fold. We're going to grab our rotary cutter. Now if you have the Martelli 45 millimeter rotary cutter, you can do this, but the 28 millimeter works really well as well. I'm going to show you with the 45 millimeter, and then I'll cut another one with the 28 millimeter so you can see. The fold is right here, and I want to make sure that I've got that on the fold. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut the nose piece. This, and I'm just going to cut right off. I'm going to come up here, and I'm just going to cut along, and then I'm going to get closer to that side. What I want to do is give myself where I don't have this fabric in the way anymore. So I just cut here. I've cut along the side. Now I can move that template. And again, I'm moving the template because my body allows me to cut right in front of me. That gives me that consistency. Let's look at this curve that's here. That's a pretty steep curve. If you're good with our rotary cutter, then you're probably going to be pretty good at this. But if you're not, take your time. Notice what I'm doing. I'm tilting a little bit and taking my time. If I miss a little bit, that's where you want to grab before you even start. If you know you're not that great with the rotary cutter and doing curves, grab a pencil and you can draw on here. You're going to be stitching that in the seam allowance, so no big deal, but if you're not confident, you can even flip over to the other side. What I'm going to do though is come from the other side and see if that trims up any at all, and I'm just going to work my way through with that. And as we go through, if you're not feeling confident, just trace and then you can go cut. So we've cut one piece, and you can see I've got a little bit there. You can go in with your rotary cutter and clean that up, or you can grab your scissors. That's going to be part of your seam allowance. What this allows me to do is get my mask fussy cut it. So if we take a look right here, these were the mermaids that I wanted to have centered. These guys are upside down, these are right side up, so you decide. But with scraps like that, you never know what you can do. All right, so I want to show you with the 28 millimeter just so you can see how well the 28 millimeter cuts with that. So we've got the 28 millimeter, that's this guy. I don't roll it forward like we do with the other, but when I go to cut, what I'm going to do is come right in, and as I go to cut, I'm going to cut right inside there, and as I cut, you can see how much easier that 28 millimeter was for me to cut. So if you own the 28 millimeter, both the right-handed and the left-handed, this is the left-handed, this is the right-handed. If you own this, use this with this template. If you don't own it, it's a great time for you to pick one of these up. I have a coupon code that I'm giving you 19% off when you purchase on my website. Guess what it is? COVID-19. It'll give you a 19% discount. So if you don't have the 28 millimeter, grab yourself a 28 millimeter, right or left-handed, grab yourself a pack of blades with that as well. Okay, we're gonna get this out of the way. I'm gonna grab this, and I already cut the other fabric, this guy here, and this is a batik, and batik is what they say is the best fabric to use. Remember way back when we were first learning about masks, we didn't know what we were doing at all. We were kind of going overboard and crazy with the filters and all of that stuff. This is not that kind of a mask. This is not the N95 mask. This is not going to protect you from everything. This is just, hey, I'm required to wear a mask. I'm going to wear a mask that gives me a little bit more comfort. But this in no way is going to be protecting you from all of those germs that are out there, all the dangerous viruses. So, but the batik fabric does, it's a little bit thicker. It's got wax that they use to make this, so it does help a little bit. Okay, so I've got this guy and I've got this guy. So I have right sides together, but we're not going to sew that way. What are we going to be doing? We're going to be doing the nose piece, and we're going to be doing the nose piece. But what else I'll be doing first, though, is I'll putting the elastics on. So when I put the elastics on, you can eyeball it or you can use one of our tools. This guy here, this ruler, we have a 2x6 and we have a 1x6. If you look, it's not quite an inch that I have down, and it's not quite an inch that I have up. It's about 3/4 of an inch. You decide what works well for you, but what I've done is just tacked it down, tacked it down, tacked it down. Then we'll sew this piece. You'll see me doing that at the sewing machine, so we'll head over in just a minute. I want to pick my cords that I want to use. I think I'll use these two here. Those match well. And I do want to point out, these guys here, you can make these, you can buy these. These are, if you are wearing a mask and you want to keep it around your neck, this clips on to the sides of your mask, and that goes around your neck. So those are really easy to make. These right here I have on my website as well, and I've got these in a bunch of different colors, and I have paracord in a bunch of different colors too. So if you like the idea of that, that's a nice option too. All right, let's head over to the sewing machine and let's get this thing done. We can stitch these super fast, super easy. What I really want you to think about is assembly line, cutting, cut, 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 sew, 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 sew. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and bring my foot down, and my needle automatically goes into the elastic. I don't want to start beforehand, because what happens is some machines, they'll eat up that elastic. So I've let it get in position to where it's going to go right in there. And what do we do now? We back stitch a little bit, and then I go forward a little bit and I cut my threads. We don't want this to be flipped over, so we're going to turn this in a way that'll be comfortable. And I'm going to place this again. I'm going to bring that foot down, and I'm going to bring it down to where that needle is right in that elastic, and we're just going to back tack. And I am right on the edge. You could actually go a little bit further over if you want. I just like to tack this down beforehand. We've done one side. We're going to flip over and do the other side. We have one ear versus the other ear. I don't know if y'all have ever noticed, when I wear glasses, my ears are not even. So if you're really into positioning these to be really, really in the right position, then test this out beforehand and make the right side the right place for your ears, the left side the right place for your ears. So if you're like me and you have ears that are a little lopsided, then this is a great way for you to do this. Okay, so we've taken care of locking those down. When we sew, we want to make sure those are out of the way so we don't catch them in there. Not a good thing. These, again, whip up super, super fast, so think about assembly line. I like a 1/4 inch seam allowance when you do this, but if you want this to be bigger on the face, then you can do a scant 1/4 of an inch. You could do an 1/8 of an inch if you wanted to. Just make sure when you're starting and stopping, especially at this nose piece here, that you're back tacking a little bit. We're going to do one, we're going to do the other. Remember, these are reversible too. So I mentioned that you can do a wider seam, a narrower seam allowance if you want this to be a little bit bigger, but you can also do a narrower seam or wider seam allowance. So if you want it to be a little bit smaller on the face, then you could do even a 3/8 inch seam allowance if you wanted to. It's just going to make this whole thing a little bit smaller, a little bit snugger. The nice thing about sewing is you customize for you. All right, so I've gotten my nose pieces sewn. I'm going to go ahead and snip. You can use pinking shears like I am, but you don't have to. You can just use whatever scissors that you have to trim off some of that bulk, because I'm going to be sewing the front to the back or one side to the other. Since they're reversible, then I want to make sure that I get that bulk out of the way. I'm going to line up in the center, and you guys can pin if you want to. You can clip if you want to. I'm just going to line these up close enough where I'm starting close to the nose, but not exactly there. And what I'm going to be doing here is sewing to the nose. When I get to that middle piece right there, then I'm going to go ahead and maybe one more stitch even. I'm going to lift up and we're going to pivot to the other side. I'm going to sew all the way down on this side, and then we're going to come back and do that other side. And I don't usually trim a whole lot of my bulk, but in this mask, it does make sense for me to go ahead and get rid of some of that, because if you're going to be doing top stitching, we want the top stitching to be looking nice. Now, my elastic that I have here, I'm making sure that when I'm feeling it, that I'm feeling that they're laying down in the position where I want them to be. So I don't want to stitch over that elastic and get them in any weird position. All right, so we're going to back tack here. Now what I'm going to do is go over and finish the other side of the top, and then we'll do the sides themselves. You can see on this side if your needle placement was good, and notice I'm starting right at that center. So even though I did stitch on the other side, my seam allowance may or may not have been the same width that I want. I'm just giving a little bit more assurance. And I'm using a seam guide foot. So you can use, it's a 1/4 inch piecing foot, but moving your needle allows you to change it from a 1/4 inch to something else. You can use a seam guide foot if you want to. You don't have to. 1/4 inch piecing foot, whatever works well for you. And again, I'm laying out and feeling those elastics so that they don't do any bumping, any popping, any inconsistencies. And again, I am back tacking, even though I'm going to be trimming all of this off. So I do back tack a little bit more than where I would be trimming, because we want to reinforce. And if you want to, you can go stitch again over the elastics twice or even 3 times if you want to, just to ensure that stress where the elastic is going to, be taken off of your fabric. All right, we're going to stitch one side down. Now I do want to line up my points. I'm going to do this side, and then this side is where I'm going to have my opening for turning. And I'm not back tacking there. I'm going to back tack over here because I'm basically stitching right over. All right, and I am not going to make a very big opening. So I don't need a whole lot, since I don't have any batting or any interfacing or anything else here. So I don't need a whole lot of turning space. I've cut my threads. I'm going to pop up a little bit further, not a whole lot further. And we'll back tack here again. And now we're going to grab pinking shears, scissors, whatever you have, and I'm going to leave the opening area. Notice what I'm doing here, just kind of cutting off of there. I'm leaving that opening area available for all the fabric that I have. I want to have as much of that fabric that I can turn in, because I want to press that, and then you can do top stitching. You can do whatever kind of a, hand stitching on a face mask. I don't think so. I'm definitely not going to hand stitch. And I'm not going to use a glue or any kind of a tape or anything like that, because this is on your face. So, you know, I don't think those things contain fumes and contain any kind of hazardous materials, but it's near your face and you're breathing, so we don't really need any of that. So top stitching is really your best option. So I'm just trimming, and you'll want to have a trash can nearby for all these little pinked edges. So you don't have to do the pinked here. You can just do trimming of the corners if you want to. But I think because you've got that curve around your nose, it is nice to be able to do that. There's my opening. I'm just going to reach in, and I'm going to put my finger in the corner where the elastic is. And with my fingernail or my pointer finger, I'm going to just poke out that corner. I am going to use a turning tool, something. I've got some scissors over here for my turning tool today to poke out that corner just a little bit more. Now I'm going over to the other corner where I have my elastics. And I'm just going to, again, finger it a little bit, going down to that point. And I've got my iron set up near me today, like I do at home. So I'll do some pressing here. Pressing does make a difference here. Okay, we'll head on over to the iron. I'll press a little bit just to open up these areas. Then we'll go back in with the tool and press those corners just a little bit. Now remember what I talked about with the melting of those little plastic pieces? We're making sure that we stay clear of those. So we don't want to get anywhere near that. Now we're going to use a tool. If you've got a turning tool, they certainly work better than scissors, but scissors will work. So I'm just pushing out those corners. If you're top stitching, you know, it is nice to have a really nice sharp point. So a pressing tool will do better, but you know, it's a mask. And this is going to be right on that edge, right before your ears. So it's up to you. You also could, instead of putting the elastic like I did here, if you're making this for somebody and you want it to fit their face, you can actually sew that closed and then fold it over, kind of the way that we did the masks that we used with the pleats. Do y'all remember? Did you make a bunch of those? So if you did those, you can do your mask the same way on those sides. Notice what I'm doing. I'm with my fingers just pulling those seams back a little bit, opening them up. It's amazing how much time it takes to do this versus the sewing. You know, you spend almost as much time pressing as you do sewing, but pressing is the thing that makes all of this look so much better. Top stitching, pressing, those kinds of things. And I'm just going to pull a little bit. I've got to stretch here because we are on cross grain right there, or bias. I'm not sure how I cut the fabric, can't remember. So it's not going to pull. You know, a lot of times you can kind of pull and get that to finish off nicely. So it's not going to pull. And y'all remember Phillips turning tool that I showed in the one of my other videos? I had several of you contact me and say, please get him to make the tools. So I gave him the turning tool and I said, I need more of these. So he has my tool, so I'm not using that today, but boy, that would work really well, not only for the poking out, but it would work really well for the making those seams. You know, I'd be using it right here to press down on that and just to keep that seam nice and flat and get it in position rather than my fingers. Because this is the iron that I love, and it gets super hot, really, really hot, to the point of you'll burn yourself if you pressed and then you grab the fabric right away afterwards, and boy, it gets hot. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to go back and top stitch. So right here you can see where my opening is. There's a little bit of pink showing. I'll kind of, when I get to the sewing machine, decide if I need to do something else with that. I think I'm actually going to finger press this a little bit here and get that to pop out a little bit more. I've got threads. Cut your threads before you do your top stitching. Top stitching, don't start at the corner. Sometimes your sewing machine doesn't like that bulk. And I'm going to move my needle way over as far as I can get to the edge. And even so, I'm probably not going to use the foot edge to do the top stitching because I want to be right on the edge to be able to close that opening. And when I get to this corner, I'm just going to lift up and pivot. Again, your sewing machines don't always like all that bulk. And if you didn't do a good job of putting in that elastic, then now's where you can go back and stitch a couple times if you wanted to. All right, and I was talking about my elastic rather than thinking about the sewing. So I did have to start on that edge, but the sewing machine didn't eat up. Do y'all know what I mean by your sewing machine eats up sometimes your fabric at the beginning? It's one of those things that, you know, it's just going to happen. So however you can prevent that, terrific. I also am still using my foot with the guide. So when I'm going over the elastics on the side, the elastics do like to get caught. So if you want to switch out to another foot, so assembly line, if you're cutting, sewing, closing, when you go to do the top stitching right here, put on your regular foot because this foot loves to grab that elastic, and that's what it's doing right now. It kind of, see, you can see how it kind of was fighting with that. So, all right, when I get to this corner, it's grabbing that elastic, so I'm going to lift that up, get the elastic out of the way. I know I can grab another foot and it would work better, but I've got this one on here and I'm almost done. And if you are having problems with your sewing machine kind of eating, then again, eating up your fabric, then that turning tool would be really great right there too. Let's grab our scissors. We'll cut whatever threads we have. Take the time to trim all of those off. If this is a gift for somebody, then make them 5 more. And if you are going to be making 1 more, then make that mask keeper that I have. I've got a mask keeper that holds your mask perfectly. It's just a really nice size for you to fold up your mask, and you can attach it to your purse, your backpack, whatever. All right, let's head back over to the cutting table. And I've got a couple other threads, it looks like, but I'm basically done. Do you see how quick and easy that is? All right, let's put this mask on. And you can see my elastic is way too big, so I'm going to adjust this. I love these elastics. All of us that had elastic, basically like burns on our face, you know, all those videos that we saw of nurses and doctors wearing, you know, those tight masks. This elastic is so much better. Okay, so it's dipping underneath my eyes. I always have problems with masks creeping up into my eyes. So I like this because it's already sitting down low. It gives my mouth freedom so I can still breathe and still talk, and then I'm not claustrophobic. So what do y'all think? This is a super easy, fast project to whip up like pretty much everything I do. It's another template to add to your arsenal. If you are making masks for businesses, this is a really great one for you to add to your repertoire so you can say to your customers, hey, I've got another mask. So it's just one more thing. Some people have called this the summer mask because it's breathable. Some people have called a mask like this the beard mask because it's so easy for the beard, especially when we look at, I'll put this one up to my face. Can you see how, I don't think a man would wear this, but imagine how all this space, let's grab this one. This is the one that Phillips didn't want to give back to me. But do you see how with this, let me get this in the right spot. With this, that beard could come right out here and there's not any issue at all. So again, this size template is the one. If you ordered this on my website, winterdesigns.com, this is my face mask bandana style. If you like the idea of the bigger one, then just let me know. And if I get enough requests, then I'll go ahead and put this one on there as well. I want to put the two together so you all can see the difference. Let's see if we can look at the sweet spot right here. And I used a pen earlier that is not one of our marking pens, and so it bled all over. Can you all see? It's hard to see right there, but this mask is right here. Let's see. Normally I could turn this over and show you the tan, but this is scooped up here, and this is scooped out here, and this one is a little bit longer. So there's 2 different styles of masks there. And what I'll do, I think, is put this mask here. Let's show this one. And let's show this one. Maybe that'll help too. Yeah, can you see the 2 different sizes? So right here and right here, just a little bit different in the amount of coverage that you're going to have. This is the one that's on the website. I went back and forth, and decided I would show you both of these because I do think there's a time and a place for both of these masks. There's a face and a style for both of these masks. So this is the one that's on the website right now. Winterdesigns.com. I mentioned earlier I have a coupon code. I'm not sure how long I'm going to have it available, but it's been up there for the whole time COVID has been around, COVID-19. It gives you a 19% discount off of my website. That's a huge deal. And the reason why I started it was a lot of people were making masks, and I showed how to make masks, and I decided let's have a coupon code for those of you that are making masks. And it's just kind of taken on a life of its own. So follow me on Facebook as well, Winter Designs for Sewing and Quilting. So you can find me there, follow me along on YouTube, and thanks so much for watching. Everybody, please stay safe out there. Whatever you think about masks, you know, here's another option for you. So thanks, guys.